Hello there, dear YouTubers. My name is King1993, and today I'm gonna be doing another Valkyrie character review. And which one is the best weapon? Stigmata set and Elf set is recommended for that specific Valkyrie character. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, first of all, let's start with the character definition. For example, there are total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are total 9 Bronya Zaychik character. Okay, now out of these, all of these Bronya Zaychik character, only very good one of them are this Yamabuki armor, this Hexor Bunny, and this Harsher of Reason. Okay, in case if you are wondering where am I saying this from, well, I'm saying this from another YouTuber who is, let's say, called Marisa Honkai, who makes his or her own thing on the gameplay, and basically speaking, that person is a whale, and as a result, that whale person is capable of getting more of the Valkyrie character, weapon, and stigmata set to test on them. Okay, so based on that, this is the chart which the Marisa Honkai made. This is a DPS chart, and you can probably see that out of all of the DPS character, only one Bronya is in the 8 plus tier. Okay, now as for the support character, there are actually two. One of them is this Bronya. This Bronya is the drive cometa, and this one does physical damage dealing support, and this one does ice damage dealing support. Okay, so this one is called Hexor Bunny. Sorry, this one is called Valkyrie Chariot, and this one is capable of gathering enemies in a single place. This one causes weakened damage. Okay, and also is capable of gathering enemies in a single place, but that must need to be done through this ultimate, I think. Yep. This one, as I said, provides ice support. This one is a pure DPS. Now, as for this four, I will try my best to explain them. So, this one is a DPS as well. Okay, not a support type. This one is a DPS, and for this one is a support, because if you look into her passive, then somewhere around here, I think. Okay, here it is. So, when you use her off field, your other party characters is gonna get some 30% of elemental bonus damage. Okay, so definitely this is a support skill. And as for this one, dimension breaker, this one will provide SP recovery. Okay, if you were to put her in leadership position, she will provide SP recovery faster, 25% faster SP recovery. So based on that, I'm gonna say that if you want faster SP recovery, you can use this one, and if you want some elemental bonus elemental damage, then you can use this one. Now, as for this one is called Black Nucleus, I will eventually get the Black Nucleus, but here's the thing: even though she is was considered as a S rank physical damage DPS, okay, right now she is now considered as a physical damage DPS character, but in the Marisa Honkai tier list, there is none of her existence. Basically speaking, even if you were to give her full recommended weapon and stigmata sets, she is still not gonna be able to outperform even the B tier list. Okay, so based on that, all I'm gonna say that even if you were to get this one and some other characters, if you were to use Marisa Honkai, uh, what should I call it, tier list, then I suggest that you do not upgrade her or do not put much investment in this one. Okay, so that is basically the character introduction. Okay, now that we have explained the characters, now let's talk about their recommended weapon. For that reason, I'm not gonna talk from this place, I'm gonna talk from this one. Basically speaking, there are a lot of weapon for Bronya Zaychik, and that is the main problem. Okay, so first of all, let's tackle with the 6-star category. Now, This one is for black nucleus. Okay, if you were to read this description, and you will realize that this one is especially made for black nucleus, and other what should I call it, other Bronya characters cannot take much benefit out of this one because it is a physical type, and the most useful in this game are basically ice damage dealers. So as a result, this Star Destroyer 19CX is basically best for black nucleus only. Okay, now let's talk about this BRUS EX. Okay, now this BRUS EX is gonna be a free to get weapon. You can basically grind for this weapon. Now the special benefit of having this weapon is, if you were to use this weapon on, let's say, Yamabuki armor, then you should be able to do a lot of damage to your enemies, because what it does, it creates a certain field, and enemies within that field will start to take impair uh, debuff, and that impair debuff is gonna cause enemies to take more physical damage. So obviously in that regard, if you were to use this BRCX on, let's say, Yamabuki armor, then Yamabuki armor is gonna provide a lot more support. Okay, physical support. You can also use this on other Bronya as well, so there is no problem with that. Just make sure that those other Bronyas are actually physical Bronya, I mean physical damage dealing Bronya. Okay, now this is called Domain of Revelation. Now this Domain of Revelation is best for Harsher of Reason. Okay, so if you want to get Harsher of Reason to get the maximum amount of damage out of this, so I highly suggest that you give the Domain of Revelation to Harsher of Reason. Otherwise your gameplay is not going to be that much good. Yep, I have experienced that soon after getting this weapon, when I switch back to this weapon, okay, sorry, switch back to this weapon, I realized that I realized that the damage ceiling of this weapon is extremely low. So obviously these are basically the main 6-star weapons in the game. Now as for the other beneficial weapon in the game, I'm gonna talk about that. Okay, now there is this okay weapon called Crusher Bunny 19C. Now this weapon is especially made for Hexor Bunny, and this weapon will provide more support ice damage for Hexor Bunny. So if you were to have this weapon and use this weapon on Hexor Bunny, then Hexor Bunny will give you more ice support damage dealing. So obviously this weapon is a yes for Bronya's Zaychik Hexor Bunny. Okay, so if you have this weapon, or if you have Bronya Zaychik Hexor Bunny, definitely give this one to her. Okay, now this one is called Eye of the Collapse. Now this Eye of the Collapse is basically a weapon. What it does is destroys the quantum enemy shield. Now as you probably saw that quantum enemy has multiple shield, so in order to break their shield faster, if you were to have this weapon equipped it on any of the Bronya except the DPS Bronya, then what those support Bronya will do is basically break the quantum enemy's shield, and your other Bronya, or let's say not only other DPS Bronya, let's say other DPS character will be able to do a lot more damage on those quantum enemies. So this Eyes of the Collapse, I do not know whether you will be able to get it in the future or not, but this is a one-time thing, and once this is gone, I have no idea whether you guys will be able to get it or not, because as you can probably see that there is no source of getting it. Okay, I got it from a event in 5.2, I think. Yep, I got this weapon in 5.2. So obviously this is a chance that many people are not gonna get in the future. Now there are other weapons, but these other weapons are actually not worth mentioning, but many people suggest that you use this Vikrant, but the thing is the Vikrant, in my opinion, isn't gonna be that much great of a weapon, but it does provide 150% of attack physical damage per second, okay, once is active has been used. But other than that, I have no idea how much good it is, okay, because even though it is recommended in this Marisa Honkai chart somewhere, okay, that you are must need to be using this weapon, the problem is neither this drive cometa or this Vikrant is actually good in my opinion. Rather, if you were to give let's say Yabamuki armor this Biaros EX, then right after triggering time fracture and shooting the enemies once and then using this weapon is gonna be more useful than using drive cometa. It is my opinion. So that is basically it for this weapon review from this section, okay. Now there are some other old weapons, but these other old weapons I have not seen many people actually mentioning about the benefit of this weapon. I do not seems to know why, but it also seems that many of these weapons are not available as well. Okay, two of the other free to get weapon I forgot to mention. Let's say go to this section, and here it is. One of them is called Lunker and one of them is called Devourer. Now these two weapon you can get it from the expedition, okay, expedition. But here's the thing, uh, both of these weapon, even though they are free to get weapon, they are not gonna be able to provide that much good quality of damage dealing for any of the Bronya characters, because as I have said that the two Bronya characters in the game are physical damage dealer and ice damage dealer. Physical damage dealer is Black Nucleus and ice damage dealer is Harsher Prison. So this one is good for neither of those because this does fire damage and this one does physical damage. So this one will be a slight more useful for Black Nucleus. Now let's go to this weapon section and go to this weapon forge and then select again this one. Now at the beginning you will have these two options. For example, basic weapons, you can use it by getting these anti-entropy Imaginion core, okay. Now this one is gonna be useful because this one provides physical damage healing, and this one will provide some physical damage and fire damage, and because of that I do not recommend this weapon, okay. Now why is that? If you were to give this Cyclops PRI to Black Nucleus, Black Nucleus will be able to perform better damage healing. But here's the thing, even if you were to give physical damage dealing to the any of the ice damage dealing character, they will still be able to do physical damage dealing and will be able to do some uh, ice damage dealing as well, both at the same time. And if you were to have some ice support character, then your main DPS ice character are gonna be able to do a lot more better. I'm talking about the Bronya characters, that is. So in that regard, this Hellfire is not a good option. Go for this Cyclops PRI. Now as you go on the higher section, bounty weapons are actually better than the basic weapons. Now from the bounty weapon section, there is Biaros PRI. Now this does different type of damage, okay. It does paralyze, it does freeze, it can does ice, lightning, different type of damage dealing, and it also provides impair. So based on that, all I'm gonna say that this is more of a support weapon. So if you want to use this support weapon, you can use it on, let's say, this support Valkyrie character and not on this DPS character, okay. Now there is this Star Destroyer 19C. Now Star Destroyer 19C at its current situation is not best for any of the Bronya characters, okay. Even though it is written here it is good for Black Nucleus, trust me it isn't, because Black Nucleus is a physical damage dealing character and not a fire damage dealer. So obviously in that reason this is not the best weapon for her. Now what about this Quantum Destroyer type 2? Now Quantum Destroyer type 2 is ice damage dealing. So if you were to get this weapon, you can definitely give it to Harsher Prison, and Harsher of Reason might be able to do some benefit out of this one. Okay, so obviously in that regard, this is a good option for Harsher of Reason, Bronya character. Okay, because as you can probably see, uh, it this description creates a snow field, lasts 6 seconds. Enemies inside will suffer lower speed and take 68 ice damage every 0.6 second. So basically this is at level 1, so at level 50 it will do even more damage. Okay, now at the end there is this pre-arm. Now do remember that this Star Destroyer 19C is not that much good, but once it becomes a pre-arm, this weapon is gonna become a full physical damage dealing weapon, and this full physical damage dealing weapon is gonna be extremely based on this black nucleus. So if you want to get the maximum amount of benefit out of black nucleus, then give this 19 Star Destroyer 19CX. And for this one will become a pure okay, this BRS PRI is gonna become BRS EX. Okay, so BRS EX is gonna provide impair. Okay, and it is gonna create a field where the enemy is not gonna be able to move, and what will happen is the enemy is gonna be able to take a lot of, it's gonna get a lot of physical damage dealing. So based on that, give this one to, let's say, any of the support Bronya characters in the game, and your other physical DPS character is gonna be able to do a lot of damage to the enemies. Okay, now domain of revelation is basically a pre-arm of key of revelation. So based on that, there is nothing else to say. And this weapon is basically, in order to get it, you must need to use crystals to get it. So I have said all of the free to play options, and this is not one of them. So if you were to get this weapon, give it to Harsher of Reasons, and no other Bronya character is gonna be able to take that much benefit out of this one. Okay. Okay, now that all of the weapon situation is gone, now let's talk about the Stigmata set. Okay, first of all, let's select Bronya again. Now, as probably many of you do not know, that in the beginning part of the game, not all of the Valkyrie characters used to have their own signature Stigmata set. Okay, it is only at after, let's see, 4.0, I think, that majority of the character were getting their own signature Stigmata set. Okay, now let's talk about some of them, and one of them is this Yamabuki armor. Okay, Yamabuki armor is a much older character, but for some reason she has her own Stigmata set, which is called Beethoven. Okay, so Beethoven is another character Stigmata set which you can grind for easily. Now this one has a new Stigmata set, is called this Turgenev. I have no idea if I pronounce it properly or not. So this Turgenev set has T, M and B. So in order to get the maximum benefit out of this one, I suggest that you were to give this Haxor Bunny this recommended set. Okay, now as for this Harsher of Reason, now it might shock you that her special set, okay, is this Welt Young set. Okay, now here is the thing, even though Welt Young set is the recommended set for her, she can actually do a much more better damage using some other Stigmata set, which is called Anas Kariak. Yes, Anas Kariak set can provide more ice damage dealing than this one. Okay, now I'm not gonna be able to talk about this because at the end of the day they are not gonna be that much useful. So rather I'll go to this one. Now as for this one, let's see, okay, where is it? Here it is. So as for this one is able to get a lot of more damage if she is given Shinmal. Okay, so basically whenever Bronya Zaychik were to become invisible, I do not have her, so I do not know whether this black nucleus actually become invisible or not. Okay, but if Bronya black nucleus does become invisible, it will gain some damage benefits. Okay, now here's the thing. Black nucleus recommended set is 2 Shinmal, okay, T and B, and for the M, okay, this one is using plank M, okay. So basically speaking, this is for more of a DPS reason why this black nucleus is given this recommended set, okay. Now here is the thing, I do not know how much useful it is to actually give this set to her. I haven't done the calculations, but even if you, let's say, were to give black nucleus some new stigmata set, she might be able to do a lot more damage dealing. But also at the end of the day, do understand that many of the G3 or G4 stigmata set in the game is gonna be outperformed the previous one. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about stigmata set which are grindable. Okay, now go to this equipment section, go to stigmata, and then select the forge. Once you have done that, you will see that there are okay, let's see, based on the Bronya types. Okay, there is physical and ice option. Let's start with the physical one. Now as you go to the bottom, which you will see that there is this basic stigmata set. Okay, now in the basic stigmata set, if you were to give Marco Polo to, let's say, black nucleus, then black nucleus will be able to take benefit out of this, because Marco Polo is a general purpose stigmata set. Okay, now there are other options available, but do trust me, they are not worth it. They have many other recommendation which causes them to actually perform poorly. Okay, now as you go to the higher section, there is this Ekaterina. Now there are reasons why I suggest Ekaterina. Well, that is because Ekaterina is gonna be converted to Michelangelo, and Michelangelo is gonna be converted to Dirac, and Dirac can be converted to Alicia. So based on that conversion, I suggest that you try to get Ekaterina, because at the end of the day, if you were to read the description, you will be able to see that this Alicia set is basically a multi-purpose set. Yes, it can benefit Miss Pilk Elf herself, but it can also help other Valkyrie characters as well. So if you want to get the maximum damage dealing type of stuff, and I'm not talking about meta stuff, okay, I'm not into meta stuff, I'm only talking about for the gameplay perspective only. So if you want to get the maximum amount of damage dealing to your enemies, if you were to give this Alicia set to black nucleus, then black nucleus will be able to outperform many of the other physical damage dealing characters, but not the S tier or higher rank. Okay, so that is point number one. Now in case if you are wondering, okay, is there any shortcut? Yes, there is shortcut. You can, instead of going for G1, you can go for G2, and then you can go to G3, and then you can go to G4. Okay, now in case if you are wondering what about this Beethoven. Okay, now for this Beethoven, what is wildy? They are the same thing. Why wildy? Anyway, for this Beethoven, okay, Beethoven is basically a free to get character. Sorry, stigmata set. So you can get her. This, you can get the, what should I call it? I forgot the name. Uh, Yamabuki armor. Yep, Yamabuki armor. You can get this for Yamabuki armor, and this is the easiest thing that you can get full this Beethoven set for free. You just have to grind for it. Okay, so that is basically it for the physical one. Now let's talk about the ice one. Now here's the thing, as you probably know that there are two ice Bronya. One of them is Hexor another one is uh, Harsher of Reason. Okay, now here's the thing, until you get the proper set for Hexor Bunny. Obviously you have to look for alternative, and for alternative you can give this Rasputin both to Hexor Bunny and for uh, and for Harsher of Reason. Okay, the same can be said about this Nohime. Okay, this Nohime set is gonna be converted to Robert Peary, and this Robert Peary is gonna be converted to Anaskariak. Yes, if you were to have two pieces of all of these three Anaskariak, then what will happen is both your Hexor Bunny and both your Harsher of Reason is gonna outperform than your uh, other uh, ice support or ice damage dealing characters. Okay, so obviously in that regard, if you again go from this G2 to this G3, they are gonna be beneficial. Okay, you can skip this G1. Okay, but anyway, this is my recommendation for the free to get Stigmata set. Now we are almost at the final part of the video where I'm gonna talk about which elf character in the game is actually beneficial for all of the Bronya Valkyrie characters. Okay, so let's start. First of all, let's talk about this one. This one is called Blood Embrace. If you want to lower your enemy's defense, okay, or enemy's shield as fast as possible, then this is a good free to play option. You can get this very easily. And in case if you're wondering, okay, I want fast damage dealing to my uh, enemies who are weak against physical damage. Okay, so for that reason, if you were to get this Tesla Zero, obviously Tesla Zero is gonna outperform this Blood Embrace in dealing damage to the shielded enemies. That is point number one. And point number two is this is a very good option for Black Nucleus. Okay, so this is it for the Black Nucleus. Now for let's say what was her name, Hexor Bunny, and for Harsher of Reason, there are actually multiple available. For example, this one is a ice damage and ice support. Okay, this one will be able to provide both support and damage dealing to the uh, uh, it will provide support to your Valkyrie character and also will deal damage to the enemies. Okay, and this is a good option for your Hexor Bunny or for Harsher of Reason. Okay, now this is also a good option, even though it is written here it does fire support, but at the end of the day, if you were to read the description here, then you will be able to see that this one also provides some elemental damage. Okay, and your enemies will take a lot of elemental damage based on which type of Valkyrie character you are using. So obviously this is, even though it is written here fire support, trust me, you can also use it for your other elemental damage dealing characters as well. Now let's see, there is this another option which is called Water's Edge. Now this Water's Edge, I do not have it, but I at least know by after reading the description that you will be able to use your ice damage dealing characters such as Hexor Bunny and Harsher of Reason properly if you were to use this ice support character, sorry, ice support elf. Okay, so that is basically the recommended set. Do remember, let me rehearse. This and this, sorry, this and this one are basically based for Black Nucleus, and this and this one are basically a good recommendation for Hexor Bunny or for Harsher of Reason. Okay, okay, so this is overall the conclusion of the video, that Bronya Zaychik character is a very complicated character because it is a support character and also a DPS character in the game based on which type of battlesuit it is used. And overall, because it is a difficult character to explain, it actually took a lot of time to actually explain this character. Okay, so otherwise, if you want to support me on this uh, video type of making stuff, then I suggest that you please at least donate, do some, if you were to give me some donation on my live stream, then it would be really helpful, because I am trying to make a website which is gonna cost about $100 a year, to where I can actually upload a lot more content, so that even let's say if you are a new person to my channel, then at least I can give you direction that if you go to that certain website, you will be able to benefit my work, and you will be able to get a lot more information out of that website. Okay, so anyway, that would be it for today. Thank you for watching my videos. Please give a like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icons in order to get more of this type of video on a regular basis. Thank you.